Do you know how to read the room? If you think you know how good at reading the room are you? I mean, every room. This is the parent-teacher meeting. This may be your counseling session with your spouse. This is a business meeting, maybe a client pitch. I don't care what the room is and what the goal is. I want to know, do you know how to read the room? Now, some people have a natural giftedness for reading the room. We call this the gift of discernment, right? They can discern what's going on. They have a feel, if you will, for everybody in the room and what's going on. But a lot of people, I dare say the majority of people, don't know how to read the room. They miss nonverbal cues. Has this ever happened to you? Ever been in a meeting where you see someone not reading the room? And not only do they not read the room, they charge full bore into the opposite of what the room is saying they're feeling. I will tell you, and I've got to protect the names here. I was recently at a let's call it a networking event. A lot of influencers are in the room. I was privileged to be there, and there was a moment where the organizer of the event went around and called on some of us and said, "Hey, share a few words here, here, and here." And so the room was full of athletes and coaches, and so it's a heavy sports feel in the room, and then you had some authors like me and other people, and so it was very sports themed. It was, again, dominated by people that were in a certain sport, and so a person got up to say something, and it was very obvious that they didn't know anything about the sport. And they tried to tie in the sport, and it was so painfully awkward. You know, it would be like me trying to talk about interior decorating in a room full of interior decorators, and me just trying to talk about the nuances. And I try so hard to fit in. Everybody would be going, we're interior decorators. You are not. Why are you talking? And so this person just didn't read the room. Had they read the room, they would have realized, I don't know much about the sport. I probably don't have much to say. And if I say something, it should be something that I know about, not try to connect everybody in the room on something you don't know anything about. And it was so painful. Everybody in the room was uncomfortable except that person. They didn't know how to read the room. And so if you can't read the room properly, let's put this now in a business context. Let me tell you what will happen. You could unwittingly block or disrupt in a negative way the flow of communication in the meeting, which then would lead to you hampering, hurting your ability to get positive results in your job. It could cost you relationships. It could cost you a relationship. It doesn't mean that somebody thinks you're a bad person all of a sudden, but may go, "Hey, I don't want to associate with this person. That was so painfully awkward." What do we do when we're around people that are really awkward? You know what we do? We avoid them. We avoid people that make us feel awkward by their awkwardness. It's just awful. They could be the nicest person in the world, but we go, I can't bear that. I can't watch them try to carve their heart out with a plastic spoon. That, to me, is how awkward it is. It's like, oh, gosh, that's painful. Oh, stop, right? So you not being able to read the room could ultimately be the lid on your ability to get promoted or, in some cases, get hired. I will tell you something. So many people bomb their job interviews because they don't know how to read the room. Now, let me also say this. I fully admit that the job interview is one of the most pressure-filled moments of someone's life. And so you could not be thinking clearly because you're so nervous. But again, you got to prepare for that to the point where you go, look, I'm nervous, but I'm prepared. And for heaven's sakes, I might not have all the greatest answers, but I should probably read the room. So I want to walk through this because reading the room, the ability to discern, is a skill that I believe you can improve on if you have something to work with. Now, some people are just so unbelievably tone deaf, it's going to be hard for them. But I think you can do it. And I think you can improve if you're bad at being present. Because I think this is a big part of it is being present. Now, if you don't believe me, I want you to consider for a moment how fast you can dial in when an emergency goes down in the life of your child or loved one. Now, think about this for a moment. This isn't about capability. It's a matter of choosing to focus. If I get a phone call in the middle of my day and I'm in a meeting where I'm just checked out and I'm not reading the room, I'm not engaged, I'm not present, but my wife's on the other end and something bad happens to one of my kids, I promise you, I'm locked in. I am dialed in, and so would you. So we want you to start to learn this process so that we can begin to build these muscles. So let's start with be intentional. Be intentional. I understand it's not the same level of a loved one calling with bad news, but we can be intentional to be aware of the other people in the room. So the next meeting you go into, I want you to be intentional to look at everybody in the face, even when they're not talking. Look at their face, read their body language. What are they doing? Do they look like they want to be there? Do they look like they're tense? What's going on? Are they excited? Are they in a good mood? Start committing to observing. I don't know how many of you like to people watch. I love to people watch. I'd be very happy if you took me to a mall right now and sit me down and just watch people and just let people walk right in front of me. I have time in my life. I got my own internal dialogue. It'd probably be a hit on YouTube if we just published my thoughts. Probably wouldn't have a job at Ramsey anymore, but boy, it would be entertaining. So stay present. Fight the desire to check out in the meeting, to go into fantasy land or whatever you're thinking about going home and doing or your next trip or whatever. Read the room. Watch the room. Listen for tone, word choice. Pay attention to the questions and the statements that are being made. And then, if you're nervous, if you've got some fear, you've got some doubt you're dealing with, if that's what's going on, you won't be able to focus on anything else. So to the extent that you can, you have got to put whatever's going on in your world or you're afraid about the meeting and you go, I'm fearful, I'm doubtful, so I'm going to just retreat and go inward. You've got to fight that. Because I can tell you this, mentally healthy people are able to be present and perceive what's going on. I will tell you candidly, over the last 2 years, parenting teens, and thank God my family's okay, and I don't want to portray in any way anything horrific, but I've had some really hard days over the last couple of years, just some relationship stuff with one of my kids. And there were some days where I was sitting behind this big screen behind me in a quiet closet minutes before I went on the air, praying, asking God to clear my head just so that I could walk in and do this show and serve other people. If I can do it, you can do it. I've got ADHD on steroids. My mind is going 150,000 miles an hour. And there are times where our heart is hurting, our brain is on fire, but we have got to choose to be present. Now, why does all this matter? Because the more that you become intentional about reading the room, reading people around you in every area of your life, the more you will see, and the more you will see, the easier it will be for you to navigate that situation. Reading the room is a superpower. Just like a dog can smell anything, you'll begin to smell what's going on in the room, and you will be able to adapt to that, and you will be able to win big with others by simply learning to read the room. Start practicing it everywhere you go, even in the grocery line. Start reading everybody in line behind you. I think you're going to turn into a great game, and you're going to gain a lot from it.